This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic! What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show and your Magic basketball playoff home for these 2025 playoffs. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. Kevin, the Magic are headed to Boston. How are we doing?
Let's go. Back in the playoffs, man. Unconventional route. We've never made it in the playoffs in this way before, you know? Something new, something exciting, something different. But yeah, I'm excited. And obviously, we're going to talk all about the Hawks game, the Boston series, all those things. But to summarize it, I feel very excited and also very terrified. And I think that's totally okay. That's kind of where we are right now, but I'm feeling good. How are you feeling so far?
I'm excited, terrified, nervous, looking forward to it, proud of the win. What was that now? Tuesday night? Yeah, Tuesday night against the Hawks. It was definitely a different kind of energy. We'll talk about that. Energy was kind of up and down throughout the game, but it's just, especially that second half, there was just not really a lot of flow. Offense wasn't great in the third, and then a lot of whistles and kind of weird, but then the fourth quarter started. Cole Anthony, AB started knocking down some shots, and fans were kind of right back in it. So obviously we'll talk about all of that. We'll talk about the Atlanta game. We'll talk about kind of looking forward to this Boston series. But a couple of things that we need to touch on before we get into that. First of all, if you're hearing the sound of our voices right now, the pre-order for the shirt is over. So if you did not take advantage of that, we talked about it for roughly 2 weeks. The pre-order ended early this morning. So appreciate everybody that bought a shirt. We'll be getting those out in the next several weeks. We got to put in the order to our vendor, get those in and start shipping those out. Really, really looking forward to that and you all getting those in your hands. So once again, thank you for those purchases. And hey, little bit of postseason content schedule. This is kind of the time of year where we're really winging it at this point. Going to go away from our normal, Monday and Thursday episodes. We're going game by game. That's really just kind of how we do this. It's going to be kind of a mix of post-game lives and six-man show hybrid episodes, like depending on where you are, where I'm at, if we're at a game together, if somebody's at a watch party and the other is watching from home. We're going to figure that all out kind of on the fly. But we're going to start it this Sunday with a special edition of the post-game live after game one. That's going to go off at about 7 o'clock Eastern. We're going to do like a special edition of the six-man show post-game live and break down everything from game one. So, Kevin, looking forward to that too.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be, typically we go on as soon as the game is over. This game will end probably a little after 6 maybe. And so we'll give opportunity for people maybe who are attending the watch parties we're about to talk about to get home, get settled, and then you can pop the post-game live / six-man show hybrid on at 7 p.m. But that is going to be similar to a post-game live in that it's interactive. So you guys can get involved in the YouTube chat. We'll be taking all your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, excitement, all those things. But yeah, so tune into that Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern as we recap, hopefully, a fun and exciting victorious game one.
Celebrating the game one win is what we're planning on. And there's not just one watch party, but there's going to be 3 separate watch parties. And in talking with the Magic today, really, this is going to be the case for the entire series. When the Magic are on the road, when the Magic are home, no watch party. They want everybody in the building. But games 1, 2, 5, and 7, if there is a 5 and 7, we're hoping there's a 5 and well, we're not hoping there's a 7 because the Magic are going to win in 5 or 6, right?
Or 4.
Or even 4. We're off to a hot start here. But if the Magic are not playing at home, there will be watch parties at 3 separate locations. One, Wall Street, 25 Wall Street Plaza, downtown Orlando. Another one at Stadium Club, where we've had a few watch parties this year. That is 8101 World Center Drive. And then Social House, where we had the very first watch party of the year where the Magic whooped up on the Miami Heat. That is 435 North Alafaya Trail in Orlando. So 3 watch parties. Now, Sunday is Easter. For those of you that don't know, we are not going to be at these watch parties on Sunday, but I will absolutely be there. Kevin, with work stuff, I don't know if you're going to be able to be there for game 2. Probably not, because you're coming down for game 3.
Yeah, no, I won't be there
So
for game 2.
Kevin will be in Orlando. We'll both be there at game 3. I'll be at game 6 if there is a game 6. But yeah, just decided that Easter is really important to the family, and we're just gonna watch game 1 from the comfort of. Well, I guess you probably won't be home by that time, or will you be home by that time?
Absolutely not. No shot.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll be watching it from the comfort of my own home. So looking forward, but that we do not want that to stop anybody from heading out to one of those 3 watch parties. So whether you're like central, to the city and you want to go downtown, or you want to head over to Stadium Club or to Social House, whatever works best for you, we want to make sure that all 3 of those venues are packed. If you're somebody like us that has family, has kids, maybe you want to take them to Stadium Club or Social House, somewhere that maybe isn't as rowdy as we know Wall Street absolutely will be, with 1,000+ Magic fans going crazy there. I think last year, I think it might have been for game 5, or maybe it was game 2. We had like over 2,000 people there, I think was the official count. So those are all going to be fantastic. But yeah, make sure either Wall Street, Stadium Club, or Social House for games 1, 2, 5, and 7. And games 3, 4, and 6. Obviously, we want to be in the Kia Center.
I just want to say, like, this quite literally is why we exist, right? Moments like this, like getting, like, seriously, it's our mission statement, like getting Magic fans together. Like, this is what we are all about. And sure, we put out content like this. We do the podcast, do the post-game lives. But all that really is another avenue to get Magic fans together, right? Like, Magic fans can listen to the show, or they can get on the chat in the post-game live, or they can be in our Patreon Discord. And so to be able to see not 1, not 2, but 3 different watch party options for Magic fans in Central Florida for these games this series is pretty awesome. It's so cool to see that happen. And so obviously none of this is possible without Magic fans like coming out and being supportive of the team and being, again, part of this big community. So if you're feeling like a lonely Magic fan, you don't have anybody to talk about the Magic with or whatever, go to these watch parties, make friends, hang out with new people. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. And what a great way to find new Magic fans who have the same love for the team as you.
I mean, I started the show because I didn't have anybody to talk about the Magic with, and now we have like thousands of people to talk about the Magic with, so it's great. And you too can have thousands of people to talk about the Magic with and to cheer on if you obviously attend these watch parties. So looking forward to that, and appreciate the Orlando Magic for their help in getting a lot of this set up. They do kind of the heavy lifting, and they say, "Hey guys, can you just kind of tell everybody about this?" And then we kind of do our part to get Magic fans wherever they need to be. So, Kev, did just want to do a quick little sidebar rant. We went and obviously we got our tickets for game 3. Ticketmaster fees, man, are unbelievable and out of control. Like an additional 10 to 15% of, I mean, let's all be honest, these are very expensive playoff tickets this go around. I think a lot of it has to do with Magic ticket prices are increasing anyways, but also the fact that this is Boston. Not cheap tickets. And then when you get to checkout, you're like, oh my gosh, you want a kidney? Like, what else do you want here from me, Ticketmaster? Yeah. Somebody's got to do something about Ticketmaster because they are out of control.
Yeah, they're a problem. That is for sure. But every time I do something like that, buy these tickets or whatever, I can just picture the CEO or the VP of whatever and the nice vacation home they get to now enjoy because of these fees that I'm giving them. I hope they're happy. I hope they enjoy it. But in the meantime, we're slaving away just so we can afford fees to go to basketball games. But hey, such is life.
Unbelievable. Well, yeah, Kevin and I, we will be in the building game 3. Do we want to say where we're sitting? Do we want to let the folks know?
Maybe not exact seat number. I don't want to be stalked, but maybe the section. No, just kidding. Yeah, 109, right?
108. We're in 108. We're in 108. Right by the tunnel there. That section just always seems to be pretty rowdy, and we wanted to be around the rowdy Magic fans.
It's that whole corner. It's 108, 109, 110. That's my favorite corner of the building. So if you sit somewhere else and you want to contest that, and maybe we'll try out your section. But for me, that 108, 109, 110 corner, that's where the party is, man. There are some serious Magic maniacs over there, and I love it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that very much. I'm trying to think if there's anything else really that we need to get to, Kev, before we jump right into this Hawks game, or do we want to just talk playing?
Yeah, I think we can jump into the Hawks game, and I definitely obviously want to hear, since we're talking about Kia Center, some of your thoughts about the atmosphere. But I guess first, I'm curious from you, how were you? I know we talked about it Monday's show, like we were feeling very confident, but like as the game was getting closer, you're making the drive to Kia, you're going through the doors, you're making your way to your seat. Did it change a little bit? Were you a little nervous once it all set in, or were you feeling pretty confident once the game tipped off?
So Sunday, we were really confident. Monday, shameless plug, we had our Patreon Zoom call. So for our Hall of Fame and Elite tier patrons, we meet with them once a month to get on Zoom and just kind of hang out and talk Orlando Magic basketball, talk shop. I was feeling really confident then, and I was feeling really confident all day Tuesday, like driving over to Orlando. And then I was listening to our good friends over the Pick Aside podcast, and they were kind of doing like a play-in preview. And they were hyping up Trae Young so much and talking about some of the talent of the Hawks. And I was like, man, are we going to lose this game maybe? Like, it hadn't entered my mind as a possibility. But no, like came out of the gates, was a little bit tight the first few minutes. AB, Cole Anthony, JI check-in really changed the complexion of this game, get off to a big lead. And then you look up and it's like a 11-point lead, then it's a 6-point lead, then it's a 3-point lead there in the third quarter. And you're like, here we freaking go again every single time with Atlanta, especially once Trae started to get going. It was just something changed, like the energy changed in the building and the officiating. Like, I don't want to harp on that too much. It was both ways, but it was like these dudes, there was like a 3 or 4 minute stretch like where they had 2 or 3 calls in a row that were just so bad, or they had no idea what had happened. There was a ball that went out of bounds near half court in front of an official, and he had no idea who it was out on, so they called a jump ball. Then Paolo Banchero gets hit across the head. He's literally bleeding all over the place. There's an official timeout, and they don't even think to go over to the scorer's table to review that while nothing else is going on. It's like contact to the head, especially when a guy starts bleeding. 9 times out of 10, the officials are at least giving that a look, and there was no look to be had. There was another one that Jamal Mosley ended up challenging. I think it was Paolo got a block on, forget who it was, or there was a foul call that Jamal Mosley did challenge, got overturned. That entire stretch, I know people were criticizing the crowd like on the broadcast at that point, but it's almost impossible to really get yourself going where every minute and a half to 2 minutes there's a whistle and now you're sitting there for another whistle. And it's been a while since we were on like a national TV game like this with this kind of stakes. Those like elongated 3-4 minute TV timeouts, they just kill the energy in the crowd. And I do think Quinn Snyder early on in that game did a great job of managing timeouts, because every time Magic would make a couple of plays and the crowd would start to get into it, he was calling a timeout. So the Magic had like 8 or 9 different instances throughout that game where the crowd was really getting into it. And then for one reason or another, the momentum was just kind of shut off. And then the crowd's got to take some time to get back into it. But that stretch in the fourth quarter, Cole Anthony hits a big 3, AB hits a big 3. Then Paolo and Franz, they start getting and ones. Magic up 20-25. Crowd's getting into it. Game's over at that point. Trae Young gets kicked out. That was obviously awesome. But no, it's just weird, because I do think there was this element to the game that regardless of what happens, you know that, hey, if we lose this game, we have another home game on Friday against another team that we should beat. So it's different from the playoffs, where you know that, hey, if we lose a game, it doesn't mean that the series is over. But it didn't quite feel like a playoff game. It felt bigger than a regular season game, but it didn't exactly feel like a playoff game. I don't know exactly why that is, but hey, I want to give a quick shout out. We did the Orlando table a few months back. You remember that? Last couple of times I've been at Kia, I head on over to the baseline bar and I start walking a little counterclockwise down to JJ's Fresh from Scratch. Get the Latin bowl with chicken, dude.
So good.
To me, it's the best thing in Kia Center. It is it's $20, but you get so much food in that bowl, and it's so good. Like I know we're talking basketball, but I keep thinking about that Latin bowl. And if you have the opportunity to go and snag one, game 3, Kev, I promise I'm getting one.
Yeah,
it's just so good.
I'll be in line with you. It'll be great.
Fantastic game, fantastic food. I thought the crowd was great. I didn't like the strays that we caught on the broadcast about like the building being quiet, because there was a lot of context that wasn't included in that. But for the most part, really proud of Magic fans. Didn't love people starting to funnel out of the building, up 20 plus with 6 minutes left. You can't do that. I hate that so much. I know we both share that sentiment. But yeah, what a great game. It was really fun to be at.
Yeah, couple things. Number one, the whole like broadcast talking about the crowd thing. Honestly, dude, I don't know if you've been able to watch the TNT broadcast yet, but it was loud. Like it was loud, and they said it was loud. It was just that one stretch, that one quick stretch. They were like, the energy's been sucked out of the building, but they said that because it was loud earlier, and so they were like, it's definitely changed.
And
So
I've always noticed the broadcast noise does not do like the in-person experience justice. It's not even close.
Yeah, never. They've that's one of the things I do miss from like old school broadcasts. These days they've added so many filters and gates and stuff on the microphones to where it used to overpower the commentator sometimes. But anyway, so I was gonna say that JJ's great. I don't remember the other thing, but yeah, it was. Yeah, the crowd felt great on TV, sounded great, looked great. So I'm definitely excited for real playoff basketball soon. But yeah, the game itself, I mean, one of the things I talked about in the post game live was like we expected a comfortable win, but I didn't expect it in that way. One of the things we talked about Monday was we just thought Paolo would feast and like that would be enough. I mean, sure, other guys would play well, but Paolo has owned the Hawks this season, and so to see him struggle, to see Franz struggle, and yet you win by 25. In some ways, it feels good. In some ways, it might be a little concerning because those guys had 6 days off, and it kind of showed. But in everything, you got to be really encouraged by other guys being able to step up and contribute to a win, and hopefully that means that momentum can carry on for them in this first round series with Boston.
And we've got a conversation with Jeff Turner. I got to talk with him a little bit earlier where we talked about the Atlanta game, kind of looking forward ahead to the Boston game. And yeah, you had so many guys step up. Wendell was absolutely phenomenal. Like the last 2 months of Wendell, I don't know it's quite what we saw out of him in like 2023, but he's having one of his best stretches in a Magic uniform. Cole Anthony was huge. Anthony Black looks ready for the moment heading into the playoffs here. I felt like gave you great minutes. But Atlanta, like their entire mission defensively was to get the ball out of Paolo and Franz's hands and let almost anybody else beat them. Like the trio of Dyson Daniels, Gay, and Okongwu, anytime either of those guys had the ball, one of them was on the ball and one of the other two was kind of shading to that side of the floor, effectively double teaming it and making them like I'm there. And especially when the Magic were going, the other way in the second half, like there were not lanes to be had. Like I kept wanting Paolo and Franz to be, a little bit more, aggressive and just find a way to get to the rim. But like those guys really did good jobs on them, and those lanes just weren't there. And this is a 25-point win in a game where Paolo and Franz combined for 0 of 8 for 3. Wendell's 1 of 3 from deep. KCP's 1 of 7 from deep. Corey Joseph 1 of 4 from deep. Like any one of those three guys gets going from deep, and this is a 30-plus win pretty easily, and the game never gets to single digits there in the second half. So, yeah, it's a little bit concerning, and, we kind of talked about that going into that last, 2 or 3 games of the season where we didn't really want to see all the guys just sat because they're in such a great rhythm, especially guys like Paolo and Franz and KCP, and now that they've sat for the most part of the last week, I did feel like there was a little bit of rust there. We're going to need them to knock that off for sure going into Boston. But the way that the bench guys stepped up, like if we got that version of Cole, AB, JI, and Wendell, like this would be a 60-win team this year. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. But we are going to need them to carry that over into this Celtics series as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I also give them credit for meeting the moment, right? Like this is a big moment. It's uncharted territory, like we said, not just for the organization, but for this group of players. They've never been in this situation before. And I know obviously it's not the world's best opponent. I think Atlanta isn't really that good of a team. I mean, I think we saw it Tuesday night, even though the Magic Stars didn't play well, you still win by 25. So I'm not sitting here, super fired up because we beat this great team, but they took care of business. They were given an opportunity to do this. They did it, and they didn't look. The other part of it is they very easily could have looked past Atlanta, right? For the reasons I just mentioned. I don't think Atlanta's very good. I think on paper we're much better. They could have already been looking past and talking about Boston, right? And then the Hawks could have caught them by surprise. So I'll give them credit, give Mosley and the staff credit. They were prepared. They made it work, and yeah, win by 25. I don't care how you do it. That's always going to be quite impressive.
Just to get on the soapbox for a moment here, I know there's been a lot of talk really since the 2018 draft of people, oh, we almost had Trae Young. We could have had Trae Young here. And as this team has struggled offensively, there's been a lot of like, oh, maybe we can trade for Trae Young in the offseason. I hope if you watch this game, that's all that you need to see. Like, if there was any inkling of any part of me that would entertain Trae Young being in a Magic game or in a Magic uniform, this game really put that to bed with one, the foul baiting. It was just once again a reminder of how much I just despise watching him play basketball and have a true disdain for the way that he plays the game. Like when you've got Anthony Black 3 feet behind you and you're stopping and actively jumping backwards into him and throwing the ball up and making that into like trying to draw a foul. Maybe this sounds ridiculous, but it's not the way that you should play the game. And then Anthony Black gives him a little bit of a generous hip check into the stanchion late in this game. Trae Young comes down the other end, comes back down, makes a layup, pegs the ball at the ref, gets teed up, and then the ref is trying to push the ball down the other side of the floor. He kind of intercepts it with his foot, fakes out the ref like he's going to give it to him, and then dribbles it between his legs, gets the second tech, gets thrown out of the game. Like, the game was well in hand. They were not coming back, but there's no other like clear indication of, hey, I'm giving up and leaving this game right now. When you know you're the best player on the team has no chance to come back in that game without you, and you pick up not only one tech in that moment, but 2 consecutive techs to get yourself tossed from this game. It just shows me that mentally weak dude. I don't like the way that he plays basketball. And I want no part of him in Orlando. And it was awesome to see Anthony Black, the young guy, be able to get underneath his skin enough throughout the game, but in that moment to get the other team's best player tossed. Kudos to AB.
Dude, that was an amazing moment. And it was great, but to see a little bit of a different situation, but the pictures that our guy Nico, who's one of our photographers, if you haven't seen these, go to our social media. Like, he captured the moment where AB, like, again, not exactly that specific moment, but I think I'm trying to remember it in my head. It was right after he blocked him. Is that where those pictures were from? Right. So
big block.
Trae Young is on the floor on the baseline, and AB is walking away like an absolute boss. And like, it is the coolest series of 4 pictures I think we've ever had in the history of our show. Like, it's amazing. So shout out Nico. But I will say, yeah, that whole moment to me was it was a work of art. It was so beautiful. It was so fun. Literally, the guy had a temper tantrum. Like, it was wild to me. And he said post game, like, he was standing up to the officials, like, they're not going to, he wasn't going to stand for them letting this stuff happen and whatever, blah, 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 blah. Like, he was a baby is what he was. And I thought it was amazing. It was great. Like, he literally, as the phrase said, like, picked up his ball and went home. Like, it was wild to see. And so, yeah, very, very fun and satisfying way to end that game. I want no part of Trae Young in Orlando. I know on paper and the eye test, there's a lot that he offers that the Magic need, but I don't want that attitude. I don't want that. He just straight up quit. He gave up on the game, gave up on his team. I know the game was basically over, but to be the star player and just walk out on your team because you were a little upset about something, I thought it was really, really clown. Honestly, it was corny.
Totally agree. One more point about the broadcast that we haven't talked about. Do we want to talk about Shaquille O'Neal?
I don't want to, but I think we probably should at least address it.
So
Yeah.
I was at home. I've really just seen clips and read things. How much of it did you see? And if somebody didn't see that, can you explain what I'm referring to?
I'm gonna butcher the quote about the Hawks that's really going viral, but in essence, when they were talking about the game, Shaq just very, among other things, and I'll talk about those in a second, but one of the things that's going around on social media, Shaq very nonchalantly, as he's talking about this game, talked about my Hawks, like claiming the Hawks instead of the team where he started his career, the team that drafted them, the team that just retired his jersey last season, all those things. My Hawks. And the whole time, like, pre-game, Ernie Johnson said, hey, Franz and Paolo have only played 40 games together this season. What do you think their record is? And he was going to go through the crew and ask, what would you guess? Shaq went first and he said, 9-31. And Ernie was like, 9 wins and 31 losses? He was like, yeah, because Mo Wagner's been out without Mo Wagner. They don't have the Wagner boys, and they, whatever. And it ended up being 20-20, by the way. But yeah, he like totally downplayed the guy. What's really crazy in all of these segments, the number of times he mentions Paolo Banchero is microscopic. He just ignores him. Even that thing, like I said, where he's talking about, he's saying Mo Wagner is the X factor, which, trust me, we all love Mo Wagner. He's a very important player to this team. Paolo leads to more wins than Mo. I'm sorry. So for him to just ignore Paolo and not even mention him, it was annoying. And then, yeah, the whole thing, like, my Hawks, and like, just, he doesn't show the love for the Magic that he sometimes claims he has. And it's really annoying.
And in fact, he purposely goes out of his way to do the opposite.
That's right.
And to like throw shade at the Magic. Like if he, the best thing is if you called him out on it, he would completely deny it and try to like insult one's intelligence, right?
Yep.
This is where I'm at with Shaq. Hey, brother, we retired your number. That's all you're getting. See you later. We don't want anything to do with you from now on. That's all you wanted from us. You got it. You had your night where you got worshipped like a Roman emperor. It's over. See you later. We don't claim you anymore. We're done. I put out the tweet today that said, from this point forward, we only recognize one Superman, and that is Dwight Howard.
That's right.
And that's our guy. We're going to put his jersey up in the rafters one day. He'll deserve it more than Shaquille O'Neal ever did. That's our guy moving forward. There are Magic fans coming out of the woodwork today saying how they grew up a Shaq guy, how Shaq's always been their guy, how, up until last night, they've hated Dwight Howard. But now they're seeing true colors come out in the way that Dwight Howard acted a few weeks ago when we inducted him into the Magic Hall of Fame versus the way that Shaq was acting on the broadcast last night. And just disgusting, distasteful, whatever kind of adjective you want to add on that. I'm done with the guy. I've got the signed jersey hanging up over here. I almost took a video of me today of taking that down off of my wall. The only reason I have it is because I don't have another jersey to put up there right now. I do have other jerseys. I haven't framed them just yet. But I promise you, as soon as I get one of those, when I have some more time when this season is over, Shaq's coming down off the wall and he's not going back up.
It's bad vibes. It's bad vibes for your room there. Like, it's just bad vibes all around. So yeah, get him out of here. What's going to be annoying though is because we're playing the Celtics, because we're playing a big team, we got more TNT games this series. So, like, if you think, oh, we're done with Shaq, no, we're not. And in fact, the Eastern Conference Finals this year is covered exclusively by TNT. So we're going to have to deal with him that whole series too. And just
do we want to talk about the broadcast for Sunday? We've got the A team. We got Mike Breen.
Crazy. We got the finals crew: Mike Breen, Richard Jefferson, Doris Burke. I don't remember who.
Lisa Salters.
Lisa Salters, probably. Yeah, Lisa Salters. So, yeah, big crew. That's pretty cool. But yeah, they're going to call the Knicks game on Saturday, then zip over to Boston and call our game. So busy weekend for them, but that'll be pretty cool. Very, very different, very unique. And in fact, I'm glad you brought this up. Looking at the schedule, I think it's game 3 on Friday. It's wild to see this. Your Orlando Magic are playing the Celtics on ESPN, I believe that game is, while Giannis Antetokounmpo and Tyrese Halliburton, the Bucks and Pacers, are playing on ESPNU and NBA TV. So, like, look at the glow up here. The Magic in prime time on the big networks. It's all because of us, I'm sure, and not because of the opponent. And then you got little Giannis over there and Halliburton playing on the college channel, ESPNU. It's pretty nice.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from our friends over at Jam Hot Chicken. Diehard Magic fans, proudly serving the city beautiful. Jam Hot Chicken is bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. Jam Hot Chicken is a Nashville and LA-inspired hot chicken shack, locally owned and operated, again, by diehard Magic fans in Winter Park, Florida. They're located over there at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square, and genuinely have some of the best chicken on earth. Whether you're into spice or not, you can get one of their spicy options. You can get their plain, Sando, the box, which is Kevin and I's favorite. You can get the chicken tenders. Even if you're going the plain option, I promise you it's still some of the best fried chicken you have ever had. Be sure to follow Jam Hot Chicken on all social media at Jam Hot Chicken and check them out at jamhotchickenfl.com to access their menu, online order, and find all things Jam Hot. And now you can also find them on Uber Eats. So if you're local to Winter Park, you want some of that delicious fried chicken goodness from Jam Hot, but you don't want to leave the house, download the Uber Eats to your phone and get it delivered right to your door. Jam Hot Chicken, again, some of the best chicken in the world. We really, really appreciate them. If you stop by, be sure to let them know that the boys over at the Six Man Show sent you. A big shout out to our friends at Jam Hot Chicken.
Of course, and big shout out also to 5 of our Hall of Fame and Elite Tier patrons. Today, it's Daniel Anderson Berry, Keith Wallace, Santi Leon, Fritz, and Mama Richmond. Those are 5 people that financially support the Six Man Show over at patreon.com/the Six Man Show. If you love what we do, whether it's the content that we bring or the watch parties that we help put together or the Six Fan Show, or you want to join our Discord and talk with other, Magic fans, whatever it is, if you appreciate what we do and want to help financially support it, you can go to patreon.com/the Six Man Show and see the different tiers that we have available. Pick the one that is right for you and join this amazing community. We have the best Patreon community out there, some of the biggest, most diehard Magic maniacs. It's always fun to get to chat with them about the team that we love. Again, so patreon.com/the Six Man Show. Check it out if you're interested. And now let's get back to the episode.
Kev, I know before we started recording, we were like, hey, maybe we'll talk like Boston series, talk predictions, and then we'll get to the Jeff interview. Why don't we go to the Jeff interview now, and then you and I bring it back, talk about the Boston series, kind of give our predictions. So without further ado, let's get into my conversation with our good friend, Jeff Turner. All right, Magic fans, here we are in playoff mode, joined by a very special guest, a regular of ours here, and one of our favorite guests, color analyst for FanDuel Sports Florida and Orlando Magic legend, Jeff Turner. Jeff, thanks for stopping by. How are you doing? It's been a while.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It has been a while. I missed my, what was it, my third quarter, around 60 games. We missed my checkup then, so with you guys, or my check-in, I guess.
Magic, we're struggling a little bit there.
Yeah.
January, February, we wanted to give you a little bit of a break.
You were taking it easy on me, right?
Well, we're trying to take it easy on all of us. We could only talk so much about the losing that was happening again in January and February. And Magic had a strong end of the season, 16-12 over their last 28. Things were getting a little hairy, that 1-6 homestand there, end of February into the beginning of March. What, in your eyes, being a former player, were like the biggest issues for the Magic during that time? And what do you think they've done to turn the ship around and kind of right the ship here?
Well, I think, Jonathan, if you think about it, coming out of the All-Star break, Paolo Banchero was like just playing out of his mind. He was rested. The legs were good. He talked about it. I mean, good grief, the guy's scoring about 30 points a game, just really dominating. And I think, this I think sometimes happen is, you find guys, even as a player, a lot of those guys are like, man, look at P5, man. He's just, we just got to get him the ball. We've got to. And so I think a lot of times, and I think it happened quite a bit, not always, but happened quite a bit where we were just kind of deferring too much. And guys really weren't playing their game. And it's interesting, I think, coming out of the that 1-6 homestand, we had that, what was it, 5-game road trip. And, I thought the big one was in Houston. We just played so bad in Houston. And coming out of that one, I think you can go back to that point where it really started to do some things, right? Like you get the win in New Orleans, you go up to Minnesota, and then you go into Cleveland and get that win. And since that time, I feel like, whether it's through Paolo and Franz or whatever, it became, listen, if we're going to make this, if this is going to happen, Anthony Black, we need you to step up. We just need different guys to step up. And I don't think there's a coincidence. And this, maybe, I don't know if all Magic fans agree with it, but right about that time is when Corey Joseph stepped into the starting lineup. And I think what you get with Corey is you get a veteran presence who understands, how to move the team along quickly. We're starting to get more shots, playing a little faster pace. And he just gave you a guy that could get you into things, get you into your offense, kind of settled the team down. And I think that was good for everybody. I think, even though he's only playing, what, 20 to 25 minutes a game, just we're off to better starts. I think guys are really filling their roles. And, I think it culminated last night. I think, we're really in a nice rhythm night now. I was worried the last two games without Paolo and Franz that we'd kind of get out of, the way we were playing. But I think you saw last night against Atlanta in the play-in that, guys, Cole Anthony, Anthony Black, Jonathan Isaac, that core group that's coming off the bench now, really fitting in and playing at a high level. And our starters are playing really well.
Yeah, and I think I said 16 and 12 over the last 28. That's my dyslexia, I think. It was 12 and 6 over your last 18 is what it
Yeah,
was. But
yeah,
you mentioned, starting that 5 game road trip, you get the win in Milwaukee. Tough loss to Houston, but then you bounce back with a big win over New Orleans and then really got it going. And, 5 games down the stretch, San Antonio, Washington, the big one over Atlanta, and the last few that kind of didn't matter. Boston,
yeah.
Indiana, and then the loss to Atlanta. Most, teams sitting their main guys for the most part. And you talked last night about Atlanta, which really our first experience in the play-in. Wanted to get your take just on the play-in in general. And what do you think when you see these big discrepancies? And like if the 10 seed or the 9 seed is like 7, 8 games back, do you think we need to have some kind of qualifier where you have to be 3 games back, 5 games back? Like, what's your take on the play-in?
Yeah, I think that's probably something. I mean, like, look, it keeps teams going, right? I mean, you look out west, and I think you had up until probably the last week and a half of the season, Phoenix doing everything they could to get into that top 10 mix, and that whole thing came down to the wire. Teams, 4 or 8, like you could have dropped anywhere. You remember back in the bubble when they started this play-in thing, they did have, if you were 5 games behind the eighth seed, which at the time I think it was Washington, to be honest with you, was they didn't make it. So we just took the top 8 teams. Part of me thinks that's the way to do it. But like this year in the East, I mean, you look at Chicago and Miami, they weren't that far. Just a game, 2 games behind. Probably shouldn't disqualify them. We were all right around 500 for most of the season. So, but yeah, maybe looking forward, if there was especially in the 10th seed, if there was a team that there was a big discrepancy, maybe there would be some sort of a formula, if you will, that the NBA could come up with to just kind of, because you just want the teams that are playing at a very high level. You shouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't penalize a team, for having let's say the Magic are 41 and 41 to finish the regular season. Don't penalize us by, making us play a team that's 5 games behind us in a 1 game do or die situation. That seems to me kind of negates what you did in the, through 82 games, if you will, if it comes down to one. But, in the case where we're close, then it's probably not a big deal.
And we were close with Atlanta. I was thankful enough to be in the building last night for that in the Magic's really first ever playing game.
Yeah,
And the energy to me was pretty close to a playoff game. And from talking to some people who were watching the TNT broadcast, at points, especially in the second half, there were some comments of like how quiet the building had gone. One, Magic didn't play particularly well in that third quarter, right? You do
right.
need something to cheer for if you're going to cheer, right? You can't just
Yeah.
cheer into the abyss. But also, I felt like the officiating and the calls that pretty frequent whistle in that third quarter just sucked the energy out of the building, and it's kind of hard to manufacture energy at that point. What was your take on the crowd last night for that first playing game?
Well, remember, it's hard from a from a ticket standpoint too. It's like, this is just kind of thrown on the schedule within a week, I think. So, sometimes it's hard, I think, from that standpoint to generate interest. You've got an Atlanta Hawks team, probably not if it were a playing game against the Knicks or the Celtics or the Sixers, you'd have that element, people coming down want to be a part of that. Um, I thought the crowd, what's interesting, Jonathan, is like when I found that I realized this in Cleveland last year during the playoffs because the television broadcast we sit courtside, which is great in both Cleveland and or did last year, not this year, and Orlando. And you're right there. And the great thing about being courtside is you really are tuned into what's happening on the floor. You can hear the players talking and things like that, but you don't really hear a lot of the crowd, in my opinion. I mean, you can feel it, but when you're up high, like I was last night, doing radio, you can see the crowd, right? Like you can feel it, but you can also see when they rise and everything. And I thought, to your point, I thought that we had a pretty good crowd. And I agree with you. I mean, we just weren't playing very well in the third quarter, came out of the locker room flat. And I think people, hey, we've seen this before. They're kind of sitting on the edge of their seat a little bit. But once Cole Anthony came in and kind of ignited things, the crowd was right back into it.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about Cole, a little bit about AB, like especially that first half. It felt like those guys come in, JI comes in, a couple of blocks, a couple of steals, a couple of threes going the other way, and that really lit the crowd and got them going. What have you thought of Anthony Black this year, right? Like last year, minutes so up and down, didn't really have a role when we got to the postseason. It seems like that kid is like chomping at the bit for like this playoff and postseason kind of experience, and he's going to get all he can handle in this Boston series. But just what have you liked about AB and kind of the way that he's handled himself as the year has gone on?
Yeah, there's always, the question when, after a rookie season, you come into your second year, what kind of jump do you make? And I think for me, AB has really made a lot of progress this season. But, you think about it, last year, AB was thrown into the starting lineup for a lot of games, but he was really asked like to just go out, play defense and don't make mistakes, right? Spot up in the corner. That's not something he's done his whole career. I don't think we really talk enough about young players come into the game. A kid like Anthony Black comes into the league, and you see it from a lot of different young players who's used to having the ball in his hands. He's the playmaker. He's the guy that initiates something. He's never been off the ball and told spot up in the left corner, while Jalen Suggs and, Wendell play this pick and roll and be ready to shoot it. I thought he did okay, and he does that some now. But I think the thing that we're seeing with him now is Jamal Mosley, particularly when he's with that second unit, puts the ball in his hands a little bit more and lets him, play his game a little bit. Last year we had Markelle Fultz, coming off the bench, who was our primary ball handler when he was in there. And so, AB really wasn't allowed to do those things. So, kudos to the team for, recognizing his ability. Is he a perfect player yet? No, he still makes mistakes at times, but I think we saw last night that AB's defense, he can change games with that. Get a big steal, a big block, and we're going the other way. He's a terrific finisher in traffic now. And so I think, he probably is chomping at the bit to get into this playoffs and just feel what that's like.
And like you talked about, a lot of his offense and what he's asked to do at times is still, hey, stand in the corner. We're going to swing it to you when you're open. But he's
Yeah.
been knocking them down. I just pulled it up here since the All-Star break, 38% from three on 2.7 attempts. And that's really been the story of the second half of the season
Yeah.
is after the All-Star break, a lot of these guys have started knocking down shots. KCP at 44%, Cole at 43%, Gary at almost 39%. So the shooting has started to come around. And I think we can all agree that that's been a big part of the winning. Last bit on AB here, just talking about kind of getting underneath Trae Young's skin last night. And effectively, I'm crediting AB with getting Trae Young tossed from that game. What did you think of that entire interaction late game?
I mean, you can kind of you could sense that Trey was getting a little frustrated. He's a terrific player, and he had that great run, obviously, in the end of the second, um, on into the third quarter. But the Magic were making him do things that he doesn't normally do. Make tough shots. Weren't allowing him to get loose on the 3-point line, which is what he wants to do. So there was an element of frustration, and I think having he's a veteran player, and having a young guy like Anthony Black who's just not showing him any respect, and just draped all over him. And then that, the little nudge, if you will, little hip check that he gave him under the basket. I think that surprised all of us. I think Jake Chapman reacted kind of like, whoa, whoa, what just happened? Um, and then, Trey, it's just, it happens to the best of them. You're upset. He fired the ball at the official. Um, that's, can't say that I haven't been there before.
Yeah, with the little hip check, he's had some run-ins with Trey now, a little bit with Jalen Brunson, and I like to see that in a young guy, to have that moxie and the audacity, to go at a veteran player like that and an all-star like that. So, but yeah, that Atlanta game was great. Like we said, got a little bit uncomfortable there in the third quarter as the Magic kind of had their typical third quarter struggles, but Cole, AB, Wendell, and then down the stretch, Paolo and Franz, making some plays as well to extend that lead and get the win. And we're not really talking a lot about that, right? Like Paolo and Franz not having their best games, but really didn't
Yeah.
need to with the role players and the other guys stepping up. Maybe that's a little bit of a hangover of not really playing the last couple of games of the regular season, a little bit out of rhythm. But now we're going to switch gears a little bit and look forward to this series against Boston. And you're going to need every bit of the 50 plus points per game that Paolo and Franz gave you this year. Thoughts on this matchup? What are the things that you're kind of most looking forward to seeing and things you're going to be watching for in this series versus Boston?
Yeah, see, I think, I think we've seen it over the last year or so that, it's now that, there's obviously been some games where the Celtics have gotten away from us, but when you look at personnel, from a size standpoint, we've got a couple of wings, in Paolo and Franz that can match up with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I mean, I don't know that there's, I say it all the time, there's not a lot of teams that have the personnel to match up with us, and match up with Franz and Paolo. So, it kind of, it's an intriguing matchup, and it's something I think that, I think Franz and Paolo, they don't really fear Boston, because they have had success against them. I think from a team standpoint, look, they've gone all in and they are very talented, but they're going to shoot 48 threes. That's who they are. They're going to rely on that. They're going to, they look to make 17, 18 at least a game. That's on the low end for them. Um, and one of the things this Magic team has done all year is hold, teams well under their 3-point attempt average. Not so much you get locked in on the 3-point field goal percentage, but you start looking at, okay, how many are teams making or taking? And I think we're on the year we're giving up about 31 a game. Now think about that. If they're the Boston Celtics and they're used to averaging 17, 18 more a game than that, even if you hold them, I said this on the radio last night in the post game, even if you can keep them under the 40, in the high 30s, that's like 10 possessions where they have to do something else. Now, it's not to say they're not talented, they're not, good at getting to the rim, but they are an analytic driven team. They want threes and they want layups. And the two things we do very well is we force people off the 3-point line and we protect the rim. And so you look at that as like, okay, if you can force Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown into mid-range floaters and things like that, low percentage shots, they're going to make some of them. Trey did. We did that to Trey. You just feel like you can give yourself a chance. They're not going to run away from you every game. They're going to have they're the defending champs. They're going to have good games. That's who they are. So on the offensive end, you can do that. The thing that I don't think people talk enough about the Boston Celtics, and you look at the numbers, they are a tremendous defensive team. So I don't worry about Boston. I think we can keep their scores down well under there. I think what 116 a game, I think they average or somewhere in there. I'm not sure. Um, but the thing that scares me is can we score against that really good Boston defense that they switch, they change defenses. They just do a good job and they rebound, and so they limit your possessions. So I think those are the things that are going to keep Jamal Mosley up at night over the next week.
I think we got a little bit of a glimpse of it against Atlanta. It just felt like, they had two of three of Gay, Onyeka Kongwu, or Dyson Daniels on the floor almost at all times last night. And every time Paolo or Franz touched the ball, if they weren't being flat out double teamed, one of those guys was on them with another one of the other three kind of shading to their side,
Yeah,
and really limited both of their ability to get to the basket. And it just felt like if a few more guys could get loose and knock down some threes, could really open the game. I mean, you saw KCP 1 of 7, Corey Joseph 1 of 4, Wendell was 1 of 3, and then Paolo and Franz, they combined 0 of 8. And it just felt like if we could just get a few more threes to fall, could really
right.
open that up. Not only do I think Boston has more talent defensively, just in the ability to like guard the ball, but they're going to implement a very similar strategy. And if we don't get guys to knock down threes, kind of like what we saw in that Cleveland series last year, at least on the road, not able to knock down threes, the paint and the lanes are going to be clogged for Powell and Franz. That's kind of my next point. Last year, a big issue in that Cleveland series was at home, we could throw the ball up and it was going in no matter what. You couldn't
Yeah,
make anything on the road. Another year of experience and kind of having that, maybe the fear of the playoffs. You've already experienced it. You know what it's like. Do you think maybe we could get some of those guys? They always say in the playoffs, like role players play better at home.
yeah.
But I think that's going to be key. If you want to be competitive and have a chance to win this series, you're going to have to go into Boston and steal one or two. What do you expect in that regard? Do you think some of these guys are going to be able to elevate and knock down some shots to free up our stars?
I think so. I mean, again, I base everything as, you can look at, and I've just, spent the last, couple minutes, spewing out season numbers, what we've done all season. But I also like to look at trends, right? And, whether it's the last 10, last 15, and, as you pointed out earlier, we are as a crew, as a group shooting the ball better. I think that makes it harder for teams to pack the paint, and not just knocking down threes necessarily, but if you're moving the basketball and and I've been saying this for a while, is KCP has the ability to get into the paint and pull up and shoot that little 15 footer and things like that. If you're getting those type plays. If Wendell is getting second chance opportunities, being as aggressive as he's been in the post on some of those, because you're going to get mismatches because Boston switches everything. So you're going to get Wendell with, maybe Derek White or Drew Holiday. We have to take advantage of those things. So, um, to your point, I think it will require guys stepping up, but I think there's enough guys that have been there, that have a little experience. I think, the way Corey is playing will certainly help us. I mean, he knows those guys as well as anybody, and we'll see more of Gary. I think just because of his veteran presence and things like that. So. It always comes down to making shots. You got to score more points than your opponent. But I do feel like, much like Cleveland last year, remember, like I mean, that series, I think we held Cleveland in pretty much at least the first 6 games to right around 100 points a game. Now, I don't know that you can do that to Boston necessarily, but if you can hold them under 110, you're going to give yourself a chance. And so I think that's what you're looking for.
Obviously, we talked Franz, Paolo, AB, Cole, like some of the guys that we know are going to play well, some of the guys that we know are really going to be key to this playoff series. Who are like kind of like your sleepers that you might be looking to have a big impact in this series?
Well, I mean, you mentioned the first two. I really think that I think our veteran players, I think KCP, I think, he's been there, he's been in big games. I think, we really need him to be a playoff type player. And he has been since, maybe just a little bit after, going after that 6 game or 7 game homestand when we won in six. Since that time, boy, he has really played at a very high level. I think we're going to need Jonathan Isaac. I think he's going to have to play well. He's going to have to play more minutes. I think we're going to see him more maybe um, on the floor, maybe than Goga at times. But we have to take advantage. We have to win the rebound game. And so whether that's Wendell, Jonathan, Goga in their roles. They've got to be big for us. And I think particularly on the offensive glass, getting us extra possessions against a Boston team that, they're just so efficient. They're not going to be running really fast. They're not a huge possession team themselves. So I think, the guys that have been around a little bit, I think really have to step up and play above their season averages.
I'm right there with you, thinking JI, right? Like Wendell obviously has been playing great, but he gonna start. But Al Horford and KP, especially the way that those guys can like step out and hit threes, and all of the wings that they've gone on the perimeter, I think JI and his defense are going to be huge. Jeff, last thing that I wanted to talk to you about is we always talk about rivalries, right? Like everybody knows how you and I feel about the Heat. We love
Yeah.
beating the Heat. Boston kind of has been a little bit of a rivalry, over the course of the last couple of years, whether it's Eddie House's comments or it's the play-in game last year in Orlando or going into Boston and beating those guys. A lot of fans, they're looking forward to this playoff series, but we know the presence that Boston fans kind of typically have in the Kia Center, at least in a regular season game. For fans that may be on the fence, like, oh, do I want to go to this game? Maybe I'll stay home. I don't want to deal with Boston fans. What would you say to Magic fans who are maybe on the fence about going to these home games?
Well, first of all, like most of the time when we see the Boston fans, those are Magic season ticket holders, trying to recoup their money in the regular season, right? This is a whole new season, right? So I'm hoping, right, that it's become, now I'm not selling my tickets for this, right? Or I'm not gonna sell it to a Boston fan. I'm gonna be in the, because, this is the Boston Celtics. It's a first round playoff series. So maybe those numbers will be a little lower as far as how much green we see in the arena. Um, but I just think this is we've said it all season. It is a special group. This guys, we've just had so many injuries, and they're really starting to play well, and they're a fun watch. And we wouldn't be on ABC on Sunday if there weren't a lot of people who want to put eyes on this game. It's the Celtics and the Magic. If the Magic weren't an up and coming with two great young stars, they'd put somebody else on, in that time slot. So I think from a national perspective, I'd say to Magic fans, the rest of the country's catching on. You need to be in the arena cheering for your guys. And let's, over the next couple of years, we stay behind them. I think we really, really got something special.
The way that this team has started to come together over the course of the last couple of weeks, it's been pretty evident that this is really like the best case scenario for the Magic at this point. Making the play in, hosting the 7-8 game, and then playing the Celtics. Celtics have been locked into the second seed basically since January, it feels like, with the way that the Cavs were playing and some of the teams underneath them. But we're all aware of at least the odds makers, decision or opinion of this series rather, that it seems like it might be a little bit of a long shot for the Magic. But one thing that I can say about the way that this team is, the last few years, just the way that they play, the way that they compete, Boston is not going to be taking the Magic lightly in this series. So, just the last thing, I guess, here, if the Magic win this series, blank has to happen. And what would you say for that, Jeff?
Oh, I mean, obviously, the first thing you always think about with this, this Magic team, especially this season, is we got to be healthy, right? Like we can't lose one of our key pieces, whoever that may be. And I think, we've got, in order for us to win this series, there has to be a consistent effort, night in and night out to win those little battles. They're not even really little, but it's all those things, those hustle plays, right? Like that, get to the loose ball, win the majority of possessions, and I'm always interested. I feel like I can really get a gauge of this Magic team when I look at, you know, like basically three categories, and that is, are we getting to the paint, right? Are we scoring in the paint? I think we've got to figure out, we can't live and die by our three-point shooting in this one. We've got to be able to attack the paint. And so those numbers, points in the paint are always, we got to win those battles. Boston's not a big points in the paint team, right? They take over half their shots are from 3 points. So we have to win that battle. The second one is I look at second chance points, right? Boston, there are going to be a lot of long rebounds because they shoot so many threes. We've got to win that. We've got to get all the defensive rebounds, not allow them to have second chance because they're turning their second chance opportunities into 3-point shots. And so we've got to take care of those. And then the last thing, fast break points are always kind of tells what kind of pace we're playing, but the turnovers, really kind of watching it. Boston, not a team that forces turnovers, but they're so solid defensively that you cannot make mistakes, right? They don't turn it over. They're one of the lowest turnover teams in the league. They don't force a lot, but because they don't turn it over, they usually have a net positive there. And we got to keep that pretty even. We can't be too loose with the basketball. So I
All
watch
important
those
things.
things, and I feel like if we're right there, if we're on the positive side of those on most games, then we're going to be in it. And then it just becomes okay for our young guys, who's going to have a big night. It happens. You're playing the defending champs. They are a really good basketball team, and of course, not going to be the favorite, but I think our young guys are fearless. And if they do those things, if they, manage possessions and really take care of the basketball, I think, they're going to be in the game. And then who knows what can happen.
Yeah. Not that we're conceding by any means, but if
No.
nothing else, I think the last 2 seasons, having a 7 game playoff series, having a big lead on the road in a game 7, and this is about as hostile of an environment in the entire league that you're going to find,
Oh, this
going
is going to be
into
like
Boston.
whatever Cleveland was, and it was loud and they were into it. This will be worse. Like this is Boston. This is not this is not
It's not
not
Cleveland.
for
We're not
not
in
for
Cleveland anymore.
not for the timid. This one is. It is going to be loud and it's going to be very green. So
Cole was talking after the game last night, and he said that he was in Boston last year when they clinched because his sister goes to school there, and he said that was the craziest environment he's ever seen in a
yeah,
game. So he's excited for this series, and yeah, I would love nothing else for the Game 1 Magic to show up, like they did against Toronto and Milwaukee,
yeah,
and steal one early on. You come back to Orlando 1-1, and we know that Game 3 is going to be rocking. But Jeff,
yeah.
appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much. Everyone can catch you and the entire FanDuel Sports Florida broadcast starting Game 2. I know ABC has Game 1, but we're hoping to have you all for games 2, 3, 4, and beyond. We want to extend that series and get a little bit more of Dante, Jeff, Kendra, David Steele, and the rest of the gang. So looking forward to that. And Jeff, as always, thank you so much for taking the time.
All right, and I'll be working with Jake Sunday afternoon on the Magic Radio Network, so you can catch us
Which they
there.
can catch 96.9 The Game and
96.9
iHeartRadio,
the
correct?
game. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Yeah, if you're not in the area, if you're overseas and you want to listen to that game on the radio, you can find it on iHeartRadio, which Jake does a great job. I know Jeff does a great job as well. So always appreciate the time, Jeff.
My pleasure.
Always appreciate our friend Jeff Turner, Uncle Jeff. Appreciate him joining the show. Always fun to talk to him, Kevin. And he just has a way of getting you excited about Orlando Magic basketball, regardless of how you're feeling at any given time. You talk some Orlando Magic basketball with Jeff Turner, and you're right back in there. So appreciate him joining the show and just really ready for this Boston series.
Yeah, I love, whether it's Jeff or anybody who just, guys who love this franchise and love this team and love the history of the franchise. And those are the people that really have an appreciation for seasons like this, even though it's not been great. But the fact that at the end of the day, we're in the playoffs, we're playing against Boston, like the huge opportunity that it is, the huge challenge, he appreciates all of it. And so I'm obviously glad to have him on the mic for almost every Magic game, although they're not going to be on the mic for Sunday's game because it's an ABC game. But games 2 and so on and so forth, it's going to be great to hear them call what's going to be a pretty monstrous series against the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, during that conversation, when I asked him the question of like, if Magic fans are kind of on the fence about going to these home games because of Boston fans, like what would you tell them? And he started to talk about season ticket holders when it comes to the Celtics. And where I thought he was going, I thought he was going to have a little conspiracy theory partner with Kevin, where Kevin believes that there are a lot of season ticket holder fans that are Magic fans all throughout the year. And then when a team like the Celtics come through, they're Celtics fans. Where he went is that those season ticket holders usually sell their tickets to Boston fans during the regular season, and maybe they'll hang on to them through the playoffs, which if you're listening to this, do that. And if you don't, you are dead to us, by the way. But yeah, for a split second there, I was like, is he going to join Kevin on little conspiracy corner there with some of our season ticket holders? But yeah, folks, buy tickets to these games, go to these games, do not sell them, okay? Do not sell them. It's going to be hard enough keeping the green out of the building. We don't need anybody else, helping get them in there. So, but yeah, always fun talking to Jeff. Really appreciate that. But Kev, let's you and I now talk about this Boston series and kind of talk about how we see this going. So, as soon as the clock's starting to wind down, last 7 or minutes or so last night against Atlanta, and your mind starts to look ahead to Boston and the "we want Boston" chants start in the arena, which I did not start, which I did not have any part of, because we want Boston, like you said last night on the postgame live, in terms of, yes, we do want to play Boston, but we don't really want to have to play Boston.
Right.
But yet, here we are. So where does your mind go and kind of what are your initial thoughts on this matchup for our Magic?
Well, the first thing I go to is I don't even want to say optimist, but like this, regardless of outcome, I feel this is a great opportunity for the guys that are on this roster. I really do. Like last season was an amazing experience for this team. I think it's going to be huge for the long-term impact of guys like Paolo and Franz and so forth, right? First playoff action, a taste of the intensity of the postseason, a taste of playing in very difficult road conditions, right? Playing in Cleveland, that's a tough place to play, all those things, right? This is that times 10, 20, 50, right? Like that Cleveland team was good last year. The atmosphere is good, but this is a different level. This is the Boston Celtics. These are the reigning NBA champs, a roster that is almost untouched from last year's championship run. This is against not just the champs, but like probably on paper, the best roster in the league. If you ask me, like if you were to ask me right now, who would I pick to win the NBA championship? I would pick the Boston Celtics. I think they are built for the playoffs. And so I think it's a great opportunity for Paolo and Franz, not just coming up against a really good team. Like last year was a good team. This is an elite team, but also they're going into an elite atmosphere too. Like Boston is one of the, you ask any NBA player, one of the toughest places to play, especially in the playoffs. So I think regardless, if it's a sweep, it's a good experience. If the Magic win in 7, it's a good experience. To me, that's going to be a win no matter what. Then the other side of me looks at it from the basketball standpoint and says, holy shnikes, this is daunting. Because like I just said, I think it's the best team in basketball. However, this is why we play the games. I'm not going to be someone that sits here and just mails it in and says, we're done in 4, we're done in 5. Like, I refuse to get there mentally. I think this team can fight and scratch and claw their way to win a couple games and make things interesting. But yeah, all in all, it's a very weird place to be. I feel very split, kind of like I said in the beginning of the show. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely above all else excited to see how we can maybe keep up with the Celtics.
Yeah, I talked about that with Jeff. Like, regardless of what happens, you look at these last 2 seasons and the way that the seasons have gone and the way that these postseasons are shaping up. Like last year, your first taste of the playoffs for a lot of these guys, up 18 on the road, game 7, you fall apart, but you had a 7-game series. You had 7 games of playoff experience. And this year, even if you get swept, you're going up against one of the best teams in the league. You're going into arguably as hostile an environment as exists in this league. And I just think that is invaluable experience. Even if you lose all 4 games, you're seeing what a championship team looks like in a playoff series up close and personal. And you're going into that building, hopefully at least 3 or 4 times. And just seeing what that energy is like and seeing how you have to elevate your play on the road to match the moment and to be able to come away with a game like that. So I know we're going to talk a little bit more about like specific things that we're looking for in this series. But regardless of the outcome, some people, if we get swept, they're going to say, oh, I wish we just would have missed the playoffs and been a lottery team and got a better draft pick, all that kind of stuff. I just don't agree with that. I really think this is going to be an incredibly valuable experience for these guys, regardless of what happens. Ask me, if we lose by 30 points each of those 4 games and if we get swept, give me a couple of weeks before you ask me that question again. But I don't think that is going to happen. Spoiler alert. And it's just going to be great for these guys. So for me, obviously, you're looking at Jason Tatum, you're looking at Jaylen Brown. There is the question mark with Jaylen Brown, who's had some knee issues. He's had some injections for like inflammation and pain management and stuff like that. So that's going to be a key storyline to watch throughout this series. If he's not healthy, obviously the Magic are going to have a much better chance. For the Magic, spoiler, it's going to come down to offense. Whether Franz and Paolo are able to get enough help from other guys and not just scoring, but like specifically scoring from the perimeter and opening up the floor a little bit and giving Franz and Paolo just that little glimmer of daylight that they need to be able to make plays and to be able to get to the rim and everything like that. And can this team just defend consistently for 48 minutes, because they're going to need to they're going to need to against this Boston team who shoots almost 53s a game. And talking with Jeff, he talked about like really limiting those opportunities. They're still going to shoot a high percentage, but you would rather a team, if they're shooting 40% on 53s a game, that's close to 23s. If they're only shooting 25, then they're only making 10 of those. So you have a bit of an opportunity to make up some of the math there. And just kind of seeing what kind of guys are going to step up. Is it going to be Anthony Black? Is it going to be Cole Anthony? Is it going to be J.I., a guy who looks like he's rounding into form a little bit here as of late, looked really good against Atlanta. And he's going to have a lot of opportunities, whether it's against Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown or Al Horford or Kristaps Porzingis. Like, we're going to need J.I. to be that defensive kind of Swiss Army knife. What are some of the things that you're most looking forward to in this series, Kev?
Yeah, for me, like, it's tough. Like you said, I definitely am. Probably the biggest storyline for me is not to steal your thunder, but yeah, it's Paolo and Franz. How are Paolo and Franz going to handle this, right? Because those are the guys that we expect to be here for a long, long time. I'm interested to see how they deal with, again, this great team. I'm interested to see how they took what they learned last year and can maybe implement it. And I don't mean that in like an X's and O's way. I mean that in like a mentality way, right? Like last year, we could especially tell game 1, game 2 on the road, the whole team like had no idea what the heck was going on, right? This was a totally uncharted territory for them last season. And so can they go into game 1/game 2 with a little more confidence, a little more poise, even though it is a better team and a tougher environment, to keep things interesting, right? That's interesting to me. But then the other thing is, like, again, what we've seen from some of these role players the last, let's call it a month at this point, can they keep that up? Like if those guys can keep it up and Paolo and Franz play well, look out, right? The problem is that feels like the biggest if ever, right? Even if you're not playing the Celtics, even if you're playing a middle of the road team, like, can those things happen on the same night? I mean, even Tuesday against Atlanta, that didn't happen. We didn't get both stars aligning at the same time. Can it happen against perhaps the best team in the league? I don't know, but that's something to keep an eye on. The best thing about this, the best part about this for me, the Magic are absolutely 100% playing with house money at this point, right? Like, you did what you were supposed to do. You were supposed to beat the Atlanta Hawks. You did that. At this point, the Magic aren't supposed to do anything. They're 14.5-point dogs on Sunday. I think Vegas, last I saw, expected the series to be a sweep, right? Or maybe 5 games. I don't know what it is, but no one expects the Magic to do anything at this point. Whatever they do beyond that is amazing, right? And so we'll see.
The last line that I saw on Hard Rock was the series to end in, like the amount of games, the over-under is 3.5. So you're betting it to be a sweep or not.
Right. That's, 4.5 then, right? Yeah. Right? Is that what you mean?
Well, no, if it's, yeah, I guess 4.5.
4.5.
Sorry.
Okay,
Whoops.
yeah.
Not good math.
Yeah. 3-game series would be interesting. Yeah, but that's G League stuff.
Listen, I tell you what, game 1 and game 2 go south, I'll be petitioning for this series to be over in 3.
Yeah, a forfeit there. So yeah, the last thing I'll say about this question, Boston, do not let the Orlando Magic win one of the first 2 games. Don't do it. Look, it's a long shot, obviously, but this is why we play the games. If Boston lets Orlando win one of those first 2 games and we come back to Orlando 1-1, Kia Center is going to be outrageous next Friday. If that happens. It's a big if. But don't let it happen, Boston. That's all I'm saying.
I asked Jeff Turner this question. I want to pose it to you now. For the Magic to win this series, blank has to happen.
Oh, gosh. The Magic have to shoot 35% from 3 for the whole series, which, again, against bad teams feels impossible. Against the best team feels some other level of impossible to do that 4 times out of 7 games.
Okay, if I tell you, if I come back from the future, I say, Kevin, the Magic shot 35% in this series, what do you think happens? What would your prediction be at that point?
I should clarify. I think they only need to shoot 35% from 3 in 4 games. That's what I think. I think if they can get 4 games where they shoot better than like 35 or better from 3, I feel like they've got a chance in those 4 games. That's how I feel.
If I come back and I tell you the Magic averaged 35% from 3 in a series against the Celtics, you said blank won in blank games.
The Magic won in 7 games.
You're a sicko. I love it. I love it. I love it, dude. The Magic shooting 35% on 33 attempts per game versus the Celtics shooting 35% on almost 50 attempts per game.
Yeah.
The math just isn't there for me. Like, they have to shoot 35%. They need like a Magic versus Sacramento type of performance in 4 of these games to be able to really come away with this series, I think. And I think you're going to need a little bit of injury help as well. Like, if Jaylen Brown isn't 100%, obviously that's going to help the Magic. If all of a sudden these injections or whatever Kobe did when he went to Germany and whatever they did with his knee and he came back looking like 2005 Kobe again, if that's the case with Jaylen Brown, really don't like our odds in this series. But the Magic have to shoot the ball well. They've got to defend for 48 minutes, have to limit turnovers, have to be able to rebound the ball. And they're going to need some shooting variance from the Boston Celtics. They're going to need, some of those games where not only do the Celtics not have that many attempts, Magic are best in the league, 31, I think it's 31.4 opponent field goal attempts from 3 per game, which is 3 attempts less than any other team in the league for that matter. But you're going to have to limit their attempts, and you're going to have to get some of these games where you just kind of throw Boston off rhythm and they shoot, 6 for 25 or something like that from deep. You're going to need a little bit of luck in this series, but all things equal, we're not giving any kind of qualifiers, Kevin, but let's get to the point here where we give our predictions. Let's do this. Let's do a head prediction, and then we'll do a heart prediction after. Or would you prefer to do the heart prediction first and then the head prediction? Yeah. Okay, let's lead with positivity. Mm-hmm. All right. My heart will never allow me to pick against the Magic in a series. My heart I can't even come to pick the Magic in this series as badly as I want to. I really, truly want to.
Even with the heart?
For my heart, I'll say Celtics in 7. My heart isn't that far from my brain where it can get disconnected enough to really pick the Magic to win this series. It is not impossible. But it's incredibly unlikely. My heart, I'm going to say Celtics in 7.
I want to hear both before I give mine. What's your head?
No, that's not fair. Oh, no. That's not fair.
Fine. My heart... it's the thing. It's not impossible. So my heart, because it's possible.
Listen, this is my heart. Okay, my heart can say what it wants.
That's exactly right. Because it's not impossible. My heart won't let go of it. Okay.
Sure.
And so again, I can't even verbalize it either, because it's very far fetched. My heart says you could find a way to win 3 games. Win your 3 games at home. Let's say it's like last year. You split. You get game 3, game 4, and game 6, and then you go to Boston for game 7. And then you win. I can't. Yeah, gosh.
You can't even say it. It feels so ridiculous. You can't even say it.
It does feel so ridiculous. That's the problem. I will say it though, just because someone on the show has to do it. My heart says the Orlando Magic can win in Boston in game 7 and win the series 4-3.
So now we want to go
shock the basketball world. Okay.
So what I'm going to do now is envision the Magic were not the Orlando Magic and they were the Milwaukee Bucks, right? And just team versus team, as good as we believe that Paolo and Franz are, if I was looking at another team, I would say that those are the only 2 things that team can count on a game in and game out basis. And you're not going to stop those guys. But if you can contain them and other guys don't get hot, you're going to win convincingly. My head, oh my gosh. I'm going to say Celtics in 5 with the disclaimer that I do think it's possible for this team to steal 2 games against the Celtics and it could go to 6. I'm at 5.5. 5.5 is right where I'm at. But just the experience that the Celtics have, and game 6 would be in Orlando. Boston is proven, they can win on the road. That does not matter to them. I'm going to say Celtics in 5.
Yeah, my head is definitely Celtics in 5. But what I'd like to propose is I give a third prediction. And this is my hybrid between my head, which says the Magic have no chance and they'll be glad to win a game and lose in 5. My heart that says I think it's possible. Well, my real prediction is going to be in the middle. I am going to put my actual prediction here on the show of Celtics in 6. That's what I said it. I've said it many times. I feel like the Magic can grab 2 games. So I'm going to lean a little towards the craziness and say that they somehow find a way to win 2 games. But I'll say Celtics in 6. But yeah, my head says Celtics in 5 for sure.
And I hate to say this, but I do think that Celtics in 4 is not out of the question.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Right?
Absolutely not.
They very well could blow you out both games in Boston and then eke out very close games down the stretch at Kia Center. They have the talent, they've got the shot makers, they've got the experience to be able to win games like that on the road. Especially that, what's your prediction on the Celtics contingency in Kia? I think we're lucky if it's lower than 30%.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
I think 70-30 is what I'm probably counting on.
Yeah. However, though, if the Celtics... I
hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, if the Celtics blow you out in game 1 and 2, Like you said, they win by 30 in each of those games. Magic are down 0-2 and they've lost by an average of 27 points or whatever. That goes from 30% to like 40% real fast in game 3. And then again, if they were to do that in game 3 and blow you out, game 4 is 50-50. Like,
yeah,
especially
if they're
energy,
down 0-3, I could absolutely see people just saying like, I'm not going to this game. I'm selling this to a Celtics fan.
Exactly. Yeah. And especially energy wise on the broadcast, it's going to be abysmal. You know, like think about some of the Knicks showings over the years, you know, where especially, you know, games, what was it this year or last year when they blew us out at home and it was just all Knicks all the time. And it would feel like that a game 4. So that's why part of me is my heart is terrified of that. And so I feel like I need to predict something to keep the Magic in it so that the environment doesn't just turn sour. But yeah, it's definitely a difficult place to be when it comes to like the environment there at Kia.
I'd probably have to watch that game on mute. I don't think I could stand to listen to that. And I'm glad that your like actual prediction is game in 6 because like you're throwing a little bit of both our heart in there because I do want to go there, but like one of us has to try to not be biased, and usually we both are. So here I'm Celtics in 5. I would love nothing more in the world to be wrong about that. If this series goes to 6 or 7, to me, that's like, it's the equivalent of like winning last year's playoff series. Like had we beat the Cavs, taking the Celtics to 6 or 7 would be that level of an accomplishment. Because hey, if you beat the Cavs last year, you were probably losing in 4 or 5 games to the Celtics. So I'm right there with you. I think they're the best team in basketball. They're my pick to win the finals. But I just hope we're wrong. I really do. I hope the Magic surprise us. We've doubted the Magic before. They made us look like fools. Do it one more time, fellas. We'd love nothing more than that.
Yeah, prove us wrong. And like I said, I mean, if by some stroke of miracles they're able to do it, it would shock the basketball world. Like the craziest proportions we've ever seen. Like the basketball world will be shook. And so
that happens. Jeff Weltman goes into the offseason with a lot more leverage when he goes into trade negotiations.
Yeah, but the reason why it would shock the world is because it's borderline impossible. So that's the two sides of that coin. So we'll see how it happens.
Vegas has it as like, I think it's like 93% or something like that the Celtics are going to win the series.
But again, this is why we play. This is why sports are the best. It is the purest unscripted form of entertainment that there is in most leagues. Some leagues are scripted, but you know, in basketball, usually it's not scripted. And so you never know. This is why we have to play the games and we'll see what happens. But it's definitely a daunting task.
Yeah. Kev, you had something that you wanted to go over earlier.
Yeah,
throw it in there? It's fun. It's
fun. It's definitely not anything, but it is something. I totally forgot. So I'm just adding it into the show notes. When we talked about the Hawks, I spent a few minutes. I was curious. I wanted to look at George Niang's record in Orlando. Not just win-loss, but like how he's played. And so, not great, you know, over the last 2 seasons, right? Basically, well, not 2 seasons, over the last 12 months since the playoff series last year when came to Orlando with Cleveland. And that was quite the series where we did sweep them at home last year in the playoffs, which is really fun. Take that plus his games here in Atlanta. He is a combined 1-4 in the last 12 months in Kia Center. He shot 11 of 33 from the field, 4 of 16 from 3, all well below his averages. I just think George Niang hates coming to Orlando. He likes to talk a big game and flex and stuff, but I loved seeing on Tuesday night Mo Wagner. It's not confirmed that he was looking at George Niang, but he was definitely looking towards Atlanta.
He was looking at George Niang.
And yeah, reading between the lines, he was looking at Niang, flexing on him and all that kind of stuff. It was so much fun. Again, seeing him go home, seeing Trey ejected, I just enjoyed every bit of it. So anyway, that's all. It wasn't much. It's definitely not anything, but it's a little something. George Niang hates playing in Orlando, and that's facts.
Well, so for a little bit more context, if you weren't watching the game or maybe didn't pick up on it, but towards the end, Niang fouls Franz. Franz makes the and one. Franz just like gives him the little and one point right in his face. They're friends, right? Like they hang out in the offseason. Obviously, you know, both brothers know George, and they were on his podcast last offseason. But Franz does the little and one right in George's face, and then he turns around and makes eye contact with Mo, and they just both start laughing. And then you see Mo just kind of mocking him, hitting the little flex, and even gives him like the little like Like, come on. Like, we're all just,
Right.
having a good time.
Right.
So, yeah, you cannot convince me that he was not talking to Niang there.
And there's one other thing. Maybe the best moment of the, that's not true. There were a lot of great moments. So remember Paolo's spin, his classic patented spin to the left and one in the fourth quarter, right? What I
Right.
didn't put together until I watched some of that fourth quarter back this morning, the possession before it, George Niang did the exact same thing. He spun the other way. He spun right at Paolo and tried to put it up and missed it terribly. Paolo defended him really
It was, like,
well.
off the rim, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and within like 11 seconds, Paolo comes back and does the exact same move and actually gets the hoop and the harm. And it was just like beautiful. Like, it's like, Niang, why are you trying to do that? And then Paolo turns right around and does it on him, which is, again, he did that to him last year, game 6. That's the exact same play that Paolo had late in game 6 that essentially put the game away. You remember, I think it was game 6. Yeah. The game 6 where he did the spin and got the and one, and
we were up a billion. Yeah.
Carbon copy. No, not game 6.
Game 6 came down to the wire. Game 4, we were up a billion.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That was like the moment where like it felt like, okay, we're gonna win this game. But it was cool to see just Niang all over the place and always on the wrong end of it when he's in Orlando, at least.
The thing is, like, he is such an agitator. But when I watched that pod, I did come away from like, all right, this guy, he's really not that bad.
Yes.
He's just annoying when he plays basketball.
That's right. Which it feels like that's what a lot of people think about Mo Wagner too. Like, away from the court, the nicest guy, chill guy. On the court, you don't want to mess with that.
If on social media, if you look up the name Mo Wagner, I think there's a bit more vitriol towards Mo Wagner than there's, like, some people they say awful, terrible things really about
Correct.
both Wagner brothers. But yeah, just
haters gonna hate.
It's okay. Kev, we're off to the playoffs, watching them, obviously. Would love to go to Boston, but not happening this year. Anything else that we want to throw in here before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. I mean, we've got quite the layoff between now and when that happens. But like we said, Sunday, 7 p.m., you'll get our reaction to the game. Win, loss, doesn't matter. We'll be live on YouTube, and you can hang out with us there. And until then, I guess let's rest up and get ready to go into battle.
Sunday, 3:30, tip-off, watch parties, Wall Street, 25 Wall Street, Orlando, Stadium Club, 8101 World Center Drive, Social House, 435 North Alafaya Trail. If you're in the area, be sure to go to one of those. Let's steal one on the road, get this series off to a great start here. That is going to do it for this one. Again, a big thank you to Jeff Turner for joining the show. For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to The Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See you.
Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!